Hello.
Who is this?
This is Abba Paltiel. Who am I speaking to?
Marshall.
So who did you think did you call in the conference or you called me?
I called the conference.
Okay, so who do you think it would be?
The voice was choppy. I didn't know if there was something to assure or somebody's conversation.
Yep.
Okay.
It's both.
Recording.
Koches protein, we did discuss Koches protein.
Yeah.
All along. Individual Koches.
Individual couples.
Yeah. Walking, talking, lifting a hand.
Prating means individual.
Protein means individual, right, exactly right. All right, so we are past this bridge here, and we are going to start from the line that begins B'mokim Acher, Beis Mem Aleph, Rosh Tevis Beis Mem Aleph.
What statement? Olive?
What?
Oh, okay.
On page Chavtes.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, and therefore, Hatainug mislabesh b'kerech hachochma. Thus, the Tainug is capable and is mislabesh. Actually, is imbued in the kerech hachochma, and alkain refers to that which we just said immediately before, because chochma is really a proper receptacle for the tainuk, for the koyach, for koyachet makifim of the nefesh. And therefore the tainuk is mislabish in the koyach ha-chochma. Ve'al yodo, and via the koyach ha-chochma, bo be'hakiches protein. The tainuk comes into the koyches protein, into the individual koyches. And this inyan that the tainuk comes into the individual koyches, this in fact is what provides the individual koyches with their principal life force. The principal sustenance and life force. And it would behoove us in this mention just to point out that which we point out all the time. That the koiches proteim, the individual koiches, may it be speech, may it be movement of the hand, any koich, which appears to us to be the result of some kind of an external cause, an external stimulus, an external push. You walk because something pushes you to go to some place. The walking itself is not an experience. From that perspective, as we explained many times, there is not an element of reality in any of human activities. So we point out that this is totally erroneous. That is not exactly what happens. What happens is that every koyach has a real presence. When a person does anything, no matter how insignificant it may be, there's an element of oineg in that activity, an element of nefesh reality. How does nefesh come into this insignificant koyach? This is via the the station of Chochmah. V'zehu shehanefesh misaneg b'chol hachushim ve'hakoiches. Thus, this is what is meant when we say that the nefesh is misaneg. The nefesh draws delight, has delight in all the choshim, in all the senses, in all the koiches. This is back a reminder to what we said before, that when the oineg is mislabesh in the individual koiches, this is not a separate, a different oineg pertaining to the koiches. This is the same oineg that is actually the essence of the nefesh itself. And therefore, when the oineg is nimshach into the koiches, it is the nefesh oineg that's nimshach in the koiches. And it is absolutely true to say that the nefesh is misaneg. It has delight in every activity in any sense. And even though that this is the nefesh, and the nefesh is infinitely superior and remote from the koiches, and yet still boim behagbal, it is the nefesh at misaneg, and yet the koiches come behagbal. The oineg that's in the koiches is definitely quite circumscribed, limited. Shekol zeh hu al yedei hamtzoros hachochma. This whole phenomenon is due to the hamtzoros hachochma, to the intermediacy of chochma. Ki hachochma, because the chochma hu keli lahagiluyim atzmiyim. Because the chochma, as we already discussed, is a keli, is capable to receive giluyim atzmiyim. Expressions and revelations that are on the category of atzmiyim. Atzmi means the very essence itself. And I'll say the next few words, and then we'll come back to this emphasis here, which is a phenomenal statement. Lahainu, and that means that these giluyim atzmiyim are actually imbued in the koyach hachochma exactly the way they are be'atzmuson, the way they are in their very essence. There's a phenomenal statement in this message in this. We discussed the principle of atzmiyim, atzmius, and we explained that there is koiches protim, the individual koiches, and then there is koiches makifim. Koiches per se, and all oiros, this is something which can be drawn from the etzem and be imbued in a cake. In other words, it is something which can be identified separate from the etzem. It is definitely sourced in the etzem, but it can have its own identity. Such as we say, sunlight, despite all in the light, has an individual meaning, and it's nimshach outside of the sun. This is true regarding koiches and regarding koiches makif. We say giluyim atzmiyim refers to that which is in fact inseparable from the etzem, because the principle of atzmi means that which is it has no functional, it's not defined by a functional element. It is not just the truth of the source itself. Like we said in the moshel of the host, yesterday we discussed this again. The host, no matter what he provides, he cannot substitute himself by providing anything. This atzmi element, which means his own direct presence, cannot be substituted. It cannot be mislavished. It cannot be provided. It is there because he is there. This is that atzmi.
When it says שמשלבים לכין החוכמה כמו שהם בעצמיים, what is משלבש? The מקיף?
No, גילויים עצמי.
גילויים עצמיים. כמו שהם בעצמיים?
בעצמוס, the way they are in their very essence. Not as they manifest their functionality, but in the very essence. This is the phenomenal element in Chochmah.
Sorry. They start the minyan at 10 to 7.
Good. This is a phenomenal element in Chochmah. That we always say that Chochmah has the phenomenal insight and it can embrace a broad spectrum, and along with that we say that the principal capability of Chochmah is actually based on the fact that there is the bitul in the Chochmah. Bitul is a special quality which allows the Chochmah to relate to the presence of the Etzem directly. If it had any of its own presence, then there would have to be some kind of a transition from the Etzem to the Chochmah. This is what we call Giluyim Kerches Makifim. But Giluyim Atzmim means that it stays with the Etzem. Chochmah is a keri to the Etzem itself. This is clearly explaining this which the Medrash says, and we always mention, that the Pikach means the Chocham, says, Anon Nosif Malko, I choose the king, I take the king. And the profound implication there is that all the ministers around the Melech have certain functions. And you can relate to the functions of the ministers. The Melech is not defined by identified by any function. The Melech is identified by his own presence. And the Chocham, this is what the Chocham chooses. Because Chocham is able to relate to the actual presence of the Etzem, not to what it provides. In simple terms, and in terms of that pertain to us in Avodah, we have a world, and we say the world is a clear manifestation of a godly force. Oyer Leki. But then we go a step further and say that we are not just aware of a godly koyach, godly force. We are aware of God Himself. How are we aware of God Himself? We don't see him. Chochmah is capable, not is capable. This is Chochmah. Chochmah actually recognizes the presence of the Etzem itself. Giluyim Atzmim Kmei. Giluyim Atzmim means shemislapshim bekoy hachochmah kmei shehim beatzmuson. Mislapshim. Chochmah literally is able to absorb and relate to Giluyim Atzmim without any transformation of the Giluyim Atzmim, without identifying any functionality, an effect of the Giluyim Atzmim. It's Kmei Shehem Be'atzmuson, the way as they are in their very essence, their very essential state. So therefore, these are Giluyim Atzmim, and that's only Chochmah is capable of that type of relationship, because we said because Chochmah has this absolute bittul. And yet still Alidei HaChochmah Nasim bebchinas shaychus l'hakoycha shelamata mimenu. Via the Chochmah, these Giluyim Atzmim become and acquire and reveal a shaychus, a relationship to koycha shelamata mimenu, to koyches that are lower below the Chochmah. Okay, and thus hanefesh asmo misanig bohem. This is why the nefesh itself is misanig, is delighted bohem in these koiches. Boyim behagbolo, and yet it comes behagbolo in a clear definition. Lefiyofen hakoiches, according to the koiches v'hadovash misanek bay, and the particular activity in which he is misanek. Okay. So this was a long discussion about the hamshocha of the tainug in the koiches. Ultimately, for the purpose, as a first step, to explain the union of Torah, how Torah is the memutza between the Elokus and the world. So now we're starting going upwards again. Kmei shuhu b'nefesh hativi, just as it is in the nefesh hativi, in the natural nefesh, as we have discussed now, kahu b'oineg holiki horuchni b'neshama elikis. The similar union is the oineg eliki, the divine oineg, horuchni, which is an oineg ruchni, which has not affect any kind of experience. The neshama ha'elikis, in the neshama elikis. Neshama elikis means that it is elokus through and through, and therefore there is not an element of experience in the nefesh.
What's meant here? There is experience. There's no element of experience.
Oineg is an element of experience. In Nefesh Elikis, there is not an element of experience. And this is why we define it as Ein Eliki Horuchni.
So this Tainug is there, but not with any.
The Tainug itself is a Ruchnizike Tainug. We will have a chance to discuss this and then bring out the principle behind this. In essence, just in one word, just finished explaining regarding Chochmah. That Chochmah relates to Inyan Atzmi. And we explained, the Inyan Atzmi is not really mislavish, does not really separate itself from the Yetzer, and it does not really imbue itself into anything. And yet the Chochmah absorbs it. This absorption, in our physical worldly terms, we would call it projection or imagination, because there is nothing really occurring. There's no real transmission. The effect of a melech, like say that the Chochem anon nosif malko, the effect of a melech in his nation does not contain any factual transmission from the melech. The whole melucha and every individual person in that melucha delights in the knowledge that he has a melech. Nothing more. So you would say that this is, so to speak, self-infused oinek. He knows that he has a melech, and therefore he delights in it. So we're saying that the tzad, the bitul of Chochmah, is not merely that he knows and he projects that he has a melech, but he's actually bottled to the union of his melech. And therefore, his delight is actually manifest in his bitul. And that is where the delight is. It's a ruchnistic thing. There is not an experience. As I said, we will have further opportunity to discuss it, which ultimately we have to.
So, just to clarify what was said, this person living in the king's country, he doesn't just have knowledge of the king and then project some kind of delight from that knowledge. He has actual bittul, he has an actual reality. This is the distinction being made?
On the other, first step is that there is nothing coming from the Melech to him. It's not a transmission of any kind.
There's no gezerah. He doesn't see the king. There's no decree.
Right. No transmission. Nothing coming. And the Melech is in his palace. The Melech is just real as such in the Melech. And that's on the other hand. On the other hand, his relationship to the Melech is not a projected, a self-imposed projected relationship. He imagines that he has a Melech because the Melech is in the palace, so he translates it in his own home and says, oh, I have a Melech. No, he has the Melech in his home. How does he have a Melech in his home? The Melech is in his palace. This is the principle of Bittul HaChochmah. The Atzmiyus, the Etzem HaMelech is mispashit everywhere in his very home. As we explained in the case of your home, that in your home, your presence is everywhere in the home.
Before, when we said there's no element of experience, does that apply here?
Yeah, and that's what we're trying to point out. That there is not an element of experience. It's ruchni.
Meaning, we don't say he experiences the king in his house. There's just the reality of the king in his house.
All right. We have a big meeting today. Whoever's online, have a good day.
Have a good day. Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
I didn't come today?
You didn't come today.
And this all happened in one day? Or lack of nothing, this didn't happen in one day?
It happened a big thing. We had a whole cheer.
Where is it?